For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Hey, everybody. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 52. So does that mean that we've been doing this for a year now? Wow. Time flies when you're drinking and talking on the radio, or on the air anyway. I always forget. You know what? We're doing the radio show almost 10 years, and this podcast now is a year, so I get them mixed up because it's me talking into a microphone every time, so it's really not that different. Now, speaking of microphones, poor Adele. Now, if you saw the Grammys, people are still talking about this. That was Monday night. This is Friday. People are still buzzing about Adele. Now, if you didn't see the Grammys or you haven't heard, the first few seconds of Adele's performance crapped out. The microphone just wasn't on. We couldn't hear her. And then the whole performance just sort of seemed off. Well, then Adele went on Ellen's talk show and said exactly what happened, microphone problems, and then even the rep from the Academy, the president of the Recording Academy, even came forward that night in the press room and said to people, it was a screw-up, this is a really technical show, we've got so many performances, and this was bad, and it's Adele, and we feel terrible, but she's a pro, and she handled it just fine. Now, Adele on Ellen said she cried all of Tuesday because it was just so bad, and then she said if it was her own concert, she'd say, let's start again. If not, I'm walking, I'm done. But it's a television show. She's not in charge, so it was a little bit difficult for her to sort of make it her own, as she says. So anyway, yeah, big night of Grammys, which is more like a concert than anything else. Now, Rihanna. See, there's more drama, aside from the Oscar So White thing that we'll talk about next week, but there's more drama at the Grammys, it seems, than any other award show, and I don't really know what that is. Maybe it's because movie actors are not quite as touchy. I really don't know. But you know what I'm talking about? There's these feuds. This singer doesn't like this singer. Miley Cyrus is fighting with so-and-so. And you don't really have that at the movie award shows, right? Or the TV ones. You don't hear about that drama, but for some reason with music artists, you do. So we heard about Rihanna, who apparently had bronchitis and was, ordered to be on vocal rest for 48 hours, and that's why she was rehearsing for the show but didn't actually perform at the Grammys. Then we're hearing that she just had a tantrum and stormed out and bailed on the Grammys. So, I sort of made the joke of remember she missed a couple years ago, but she ran into, Chris Brown's fist. So was this another incident where, maybe they got back together? Who knows? I don't know what happened. But to me, it seems like it's a very diva move. If she's not, in fact, actually sick and just wants to throw a tantrum, I guess that's one thing. But that would, let's say Adele did that. Let's say that Adele had a bad rehearsal and she stormed off the stage. You would feel bad for Adele because it's Adele and she's such a sweetheart. But then you've got somebody like, let's say it was Rihanna or Nicki Minaj, or you would look at them and go, wow, what a bitch. So, and I don't know if it's the type of personality or the public perception of these people, but I don't think that we would, Adele did have those vocal problems and she did have to stop performing and people felt bad. I don't know that people actually feel sorry for Rihanna for this one. And maybe it's selfish that TV viewers just wanted to see her and they don't take too kindly for her bailing at the last minute. Again, granted, this is a different situation than last time, perhaps, when she was beaten by her boyfriend. But nevertheless, there was some drama with the Grammys that people are still talking about days later. So there you go. Coming up on this show, The Scribble, we're going to be talking with Tanya Acker. She is one of the judges on the TV show Hot Bench. Now, you'll recall we had Larry Bachman, who's one of the judges. It's the new Judge Judy court show. 3 judges all preside over these cases. They sort of debate, and then it's in a sense, majority rules, I guess. But they they take you back into the chambers, and you see their squabbles and their little tiffs. So Tanya is going to be coming up and actually joining us for the entire show, so that'll be exciting. So stick around for that. Coming up next week on the broadcast, speaking of award shows, we will be talking with another one of our friends from E! And we'll be previewing the Oscars and, again, the predictions, the snubs, sort of like what we did last week with the Grammys here on the show. And that should be a good time as well. We are on Twitter, at The Scribble Show. At The Scribble Show on Twitter, and also our website is thescribbleshow.com. If you have not subscribed on iTunes or SoundCloud, I encourage you to do that, because like I said at the beginning, episode 52 already, there's lots you've missed out on. We could almost, if we were on the air long enough, do an entire, like a 24-hour channel of just The Scribble. I don't know how many people would tune in. We'd probably lose money. I don't know that we'd make any money on it, but either way, it might be kind of entertaining, to say the least. Now, what else is there to name drop and link whore? We've got SpeakFreeCelebWatch.com. That's our celebrity interview site, so we've got a bunch of our past guests on there, SpeakFreeCelebWatch.com. And then we've been talking about the Grammys and all this other fun stuff. We recap those every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. It's one of our syndicated radio shows that we produce, entertainmentwrapup.com, and you can have a listen to our daily celebrity show. It's about 3 minutes. It's nothing long. entertainmentwrapup.com. All right. So we are going to hit the celebrity phone after this, or actually we're going to get right into it right now. It's time to hit the celebrity phone. Now, a couple of months ago, you'll recall we had Larry Bachman. He's one of the judges on Hot Bench. That's Judge Judy's new court show. And now we've got Tanya Acker, she's the one who keeps him in line. She's joining us on the line. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Jeremy.
When Larry was on, we were talking about how the show has been a big success, but there's been some really impressive numbers lately. I know you guys have beat Ellen in the ratings a couple of times, right?
We have. We're doing quite well. I mean, I have to tell you, it's very satisfying to see that the audience loves the show as much as it does and is responding to us the way that it is. I'm very, very appreciative of it. Very grateful.
It's incredible. And now you just have to overthrow Judge Judy now, right? Oh, I don't know.
Well, that won't be happening. She is still far and away just the queen of television, but we're very happy to be following along in her coattails. We're very happy.
Absolutely,
There's
yeah.
no complaint here.
She would be pissed, though. No, I'm kidding. I know she'd be very happy, right? And now, I guess, just recently announced another season coming, right?
Yes. We just got picked up for another season, which is very exciting. The numbers keep growing, which is really exciting. I mean, people really seem to be responding well to this format. I think the fact that they can see us arguing, in our chambers really makes a big difference. People like to see how judges make decisions, how decision makers actually come to reach the conclusions they do. I mean, so often people are just presented with things as a fait accompli, and I like the fact that we allow them behind the curtain a bit.
Now, I mentioned when we had Larry on, I had to ask him, not that it's a guy thing, but I said, you're kind of outnumbered on the show. But he said he ultimately has the final say, which we know is a load of crap, right?
Yeah, that would be really untrue. But Larry's so great. What's interesting is that we really, the sort of gender disparity aside, we really don't have any alliances. We see the cases often very differently. I mean, sometimes Larry and I see things one way, or he and Patricia. It's one of the fun things about being a bench of three. You have to work really to prove your point, and sometimes one of us may be on the fence, in which case it's incumbent on the other two to make the arguments that will persuade him or her. We have a great time. It really is fun.
Let's talk about the gender thing then for a second, because I know, was Judge Judy the first female TV judge, or was there...
No, she was the first woman. I mean, her predecessors in that arena, as best as I can recall, were all men. I mean, I remember, of course, there was Judge Wapner at the very beginning.
Right.
I'm almost positive that she's the first woman.
And so what has she taught you? This is your chance to kiss up to the boss. What has she taught you about being a good TV judge?
She doesn't really like people. Haven't you watched her show? She's not into the sucking up.
Yes.
But actually, interestingly, that's one of the things that she really taught me. I mean, she, if you watch her show, and part of the reason that people respond to her in the way that they do is that she cuts past all the nonsense. She gets to what's really going on. She gets to the bottom line. She cuts through all the BS. And that's really one of the things, one of the biggest lessons, really, that I've learned from her. Certainly when you're in a forum like this one where people are representing themselves, these are not professionals. They're not lawyers, although some of them are incredibly, I've had litigants show up in court, frankly. Some of our litigants should go to law school. They're that good. But, a lot of the times people are just throwing everything at the wall, frankly, in some cases. And it's our job to pierce through it and figure out the legal issue and try to make the right decision, to the best of our ability. People come to court with baggage often that doesn't have anything to do with the legal merits of their case. It can sometimes be informative. It can sometimes kind of give you a sense about what their motivations are or who is or isn't more credible. But my big lesson from Judy is, you got to wade through all of it, and you've got to wade through all of it in a pretty compressed time frame. We do get the complaints and the answers to all of our cases in advance. That's actually what I was doing right now, is reading my cases for our next taping. But, so there are legal issues that you've got to get to. Sometimes you've got to wade through a bunch of other stuff in order to get to it. You know what I mean?
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now. And in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-478-9568 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-478-9568. That's 800-478-9568.
Jeremy Bradley here, back talking with Tanya Acker, one of the judges from TV's Hot Bench. So if you were to give somebody advice then, if they're about to come on the show, you would cut to the chase is almost what you would tell them as well?
Yes, I would say cut to the chase. I would say make sure that you are bringing evidence. It sounds so basic, but I have to tell you, Jeremy, it's something that a lot of people don't really think about. When you're going through life and you encounter a problem with somebody and you've got no intention and you don't have the resources to hire a lawyer, it is sometimes really time-consuming to write everything down and collect all of your documents and kind of get your facts organized. It can be a pain, but it is very, very necessary. A lot of the times we've got folks who show up in court with nothing but their cute faces, and they think that that's enough to sway one of us, and it really isn't. So if I had one piece of advice, it would be before you go to court, whether or not it's a televised small claims forum or a real one, just get all of your ducks lined up. If there is a point that you want to prove, if there's something that you want the decision maker to believe, show up with a good reason why he or she should believe it. That's my big note.
I'm going to write that down. So charming and flirty won't get you anywhere in your courtroom.
Wink a lot.
Now, but do you see that, though? Do you have maybe some of the guys in court or, maybe looking at you a little bit more than they would be at your male counterpart? Or, do people try to play that game?
I think that, certainly for my part, I don't think that many litigants sort of would think that would fly very well with me.
Yeah.
I don't really think people don't show up in court so much playing that card. I think that, interestingly, you talked about gender, and if I think about being sort of a woman lawyer, obviously there are times when, in the course of my practice, or maybe even, in the course of what I'm doing now, where somebody might not take me as seriously or, think they can get one over. But, that's really their mistake, frankly.
Right.
It's not. I mean, I feel lucky in that I'm kind of at a place in my life where, while you still might encounter those things, it's easier for me to kind of keep doing what I have to do and move past them. So if somebody is going to, show up in court and think they can flirt their way to a vote, I think they get disabused of that pretty quickly.
Yes.
But I haven't really gotten much of that, I must say.
Well, it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just thinking, is that good or bad? I don't know. We'll have to think that one through.
It would be... It would be heartbreaking if the guys are making eyes at Larry more than they are at you. I would just say,
Well, Larry is a good-looking guy. Okay,
Yeah.
I know you had him on.
Yeah.
He's got a great voice, but the voice doesn't do him justice. He's a very good-looking man.
Right.
He's got a very strong following. There are women who are quite taken with his eyes. Maybe other folks are taken with his eyes too. Maybe men too.
Who knows?
He's got great eyes.
Yeah, for sure.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
We're back talking with Hot Bench Judge Tanya Acker. Let me ask you, because this is something that I've noticed when I watch these shows, and I'm kind of thinking that I'm becoming an expert as to detect when people are lying. When they go on that long, rambling sort of explanation, is that sometimes an indication that they could be lying because they're just now trying to talk their way through an excuse or a reason?
Yes, and it is especially a sign when you ask a very direct question, right? Like, if someone is saying that they paid someone back, let's just assume some money is at issue, and someone's like, oh yeah, I paid it back, and if the question is, when did you pay it back? And their response is, well, see, the other day I was picking up my kids from school, and then we had to stop and get something to eat, and then on the way we stopped at my cousin's house. If I start getting that, then I'm getting a sense that you didn't really pay the money back. Sometimes a long answer to a very short, clear question can be a tip-off that somebody's kind of trying to feel their way. Like sometimes people try to feel their way around the truth while trying to avoid it as much as possible.
I'm laughing because if people are just tuning in, they might think we're talking about one of those political debates. We're actually talking about people. No. True.
Oh my God.
It's not that far off.
No. Just my courtroom.
Yeah.
Just television courtroom.
Let's rewind, though. You mentioned about being an attorney. So outside of your busy, you've got a busy schedule, TV, and then you are still practicing law, though, too, right?
I practice a little bit, given my production schedule. On the schedule with our cases, I can't really practice to the extent that I did. I mean, mine was a civil practice, and so, clients don't really want to hear that you can't take a call because you're arbitrating a case on television.
Right.
But I do still do consult on cases and help folks where I can. I'm pretty involved in some nonprofit work that I care about. I'm on the board of the Boy Scouts, the Western Los Angeles County Council of Boy Scouts, which does not and has never discriminated on the basis of sexual orientation, I might add. I started doing legal work for them, and then I'm on their board, and just planned a lot of fun stuff for the kids. The Scouts are important to me because I'm interested in being a part of platforms that give kids an opportunity, to be good and do fun stuff and learn to be good citizens. I joke sometimes that it seems that the lesson that we're teaching folks today is that the best thing to be is snarky. And, there's a moment for snarky. I am sometimes very snarky, but I also like to be a part of, something positive, where we're giving kids opportunities. I'm also a part of the Reinvent Communities Challenge. If your listeners are interested in that, they can go to reinventcommunities.org. And what that challenge is an opportunity for people in disadvantaged communities or other communities to solicit ideas, to submit ideas that they have for changing those communities and improving those circumstances. So that's sort of a ground-up initiative. where we really want to see what people who are most affected by problems would do to solve them. I tend to think that the best solutions come from people who've got firsthand experience. And I do a few other things. I serve on a board, another organization called the Western Justice Center, which is comprised primarily of lawyers and judges, and we look for and promote alternative ways of resolving disputes. I think that the best advice, frankly, I could give anybody who's thinking about going to court is to look for ways to avoid it. Sometimes, that's just not possible. You got to do what you got to do. But, a lot of the time I see in my courtroom situations that just got out of hand, frankly, because people didn't communicate. They didn't act like they had any sense or home training in the first place. And so a lot of these disputes could have been resolved long ago, before you show up before a judge or judges to resolve them. People just either took advantage, there are many community resources that will community mediation programs that will help people try to resolve cases for free. I strongly recommend that. It's a big passion of mine, frankly.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here once again talking with Tanya Acker. It's going to be the whole show. We're talking with Tanya today. Now, in the last segment, we were talking about just people being lawsuit happy and they'll just sue over anything and they don't necessarily do their background information as to what makes a decent lawsuit. But enough about Bill Cosby. Let's segue into that because, that's sort of a good example where now, we don't know if these women were actually assaulted by him or not, but, coming out of the woodwork by the dozens, these people are coming forward. So if somebody had come to you and said, this happened to me 30 years ago at the hands of Bill Cosby, is it worth pursuing?
I can't speak to that because, that's sort of, it's not my fight. I mean, it's not really, I wouldn't be comfortable telling somebody who'd had something horrible happen to them, allegedly happen to them, that you should just let it go. I mean, people have to process their traumas however they choose. They are hard cases. One of the strongest facts is that there are so many people. But when it comes to the individual cases, the legal process is what it is. I mean, the lawyers are not going to be able to simply just keep repeating that women are coming out of the woodwork. They're going to have to dig into the details and prove each of these specific allegations. And that won't be easy. In some ways, the PR fight is much easier than the legal. Not in some ways. I mean, in every way, the PR fight is much easier than the actual legal battle and battles that are to come.
And in some cases like this, where we're going back decades, you don't have that trail of emails or texts, right? Because that was before that time. So,
and it's a great, and these are things that Cosby's lawyers are going to seize on. When you're making these sorts of allegations against somebody, you've got to have details. There will be some expectation of proof, at least clear recollection. You're going to have to be able to corroborate things. When you're relying on something, when you're relying on evidence that consists primarily of testimony, if somebody's saying, well, this is what happened, you're going to be looking to corroborate all other sorts of details of the story. I mean, so there's not, getting to a plaintiff's verdict, in the civil cases or prosecution verdict in the criminal matters, it's not simply as easy as just kind of, going on TV or looking at all the women on TV and saying, well, he must have done it. I mean, there are a lot of hoops that we have to jump through. Fortunately, thank goodness for our legal system. It doesn't convict people in the media. But these will be hard cases, and there's a lot of evidence. There are a lot of stories. You know, I mean, just because it's difficult, just because these cases will be difficult to prove, it doesn't mean that they'll be impossible.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
One final segment with TV's Tanya Acker from the hit show Hot Bench, picked up for a third season, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We're talking about Bill Cosby in the last segment. Is a judge, and not that you're a mind reader and you know what each judge is going to think, but because he's a celebrity, is a judge likely to take it easy on him because he's a public face, or on the flip side of that and say, you know what, you're a celebrity, how could you have done this stuff? Like what?
It's not supposed to be either. Celebrities are supposed to go to court just like everybody goes to court and be judged on the basis of the facts and evidence that they present. Now, where I think being a celebrity, or more specifically a celebrity with money, comes into play is that you then have the resources to mount all of these different challenges to the evidence, that I was referring to before. You can have things tested. You can hire your investigators. You can really pursue trails that, if you don't have any money, are much harder to pursue. You can't, all of these people who are part of unraveling a criminal or civil case, they usually require some degree of money. My organization, Public Counsel, or the one I'm on the board of, we provide free help, but we get lots of donations. And so, if you're a person with resources, whether you are famous or not, you've got a tremendous advantage. You've got an advantage that other litigants won't have. It's not to say that there aren't great lawyers who are providing great free legal services for folks, or services that reduce legal costs. Absolutely they are. But there's a lot of machinery that goes into proving or disproving a charge, and certainly having more money helps.
In our final remaining moments, I want to have some fun, and I want to put you on the spot here. Do your best.
I love being put on the spot. It's my favorite thing.
Okay, good. Yes, I knew it. Okay. Do your best impersonation of Judge Judy before we go.
Oh, are you joking? You must be out of your mind. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to do that.
I am. I'm joking.
That was my impersonation. There was. That was it.
I was going to say, I close my eyes and I'm there. It's Judge Judy yelling at me.
That was clever.
It was very good.
Do I get some points for that?
Absolutely. This is why you're winning in the ratings. That's what I gotta say. We're gonna be watching.
This was really fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're gonna be watching Hot Bench. It's every weekday, right? And syndication, so people will check their local listings, right?
Yes, sir. That's it. Every day, check your local listings. Hot Bench. Tune in. Tell me what you think on Twitter. People tend not to be shy about that. I love social media, by the way. So yes, watch us. Let us know. Hope you enjoy.
We'll be watching and tweeting. Tanya Acker, thanks so much for joining us today.
Take care.
There you have it. All right, so again, we are on SoundCloud and iTunes and at thescribbleshow.com, and once again, our Twitter is at thescribbleshow. And, it's interesting, a couple of weeks ago, actually, I was reading, talking about these court shows, I was reading that they will actually, and I don't remember which show it was, but these types of shows will, they fly you to California, of course, to film the show, and they sort of cater to a different type of person, if you know what I mean. I don't want to be offensive on this one, but we understand, like the certain type of guest on the Jerry Springer show, right? And so I was reading that they actually will buy these people teeth if they don't have all of their teeth. They'll even buy them clothing so that they're presentable on television. And some of the people will even demand money for a television appearance. But they definitely will sometimes just appreciate the celebrity status, that 15 minutes of fame, that it's a free trip to California. And they get, taken around. They get put up in a hotel. They get free meals, whatever it is. And then it's back home to their real life. So the woman, she was writing this blog or whatever it was, I guess on the condition of anonymity. She didn't say what show she works for, but, there's so many of these court shows. And it was just sort of eye-opening, right? I mean, they produce these shows for entertainment value, to make money. It's sort of like The Bachelor. They don't care about the people finding love. Honestly, you can say that they do, but they don't. The more tragic and train wreck-alicious, as I call it, the better, right? Because people are tuning in, people are talking. At the end, if anything, it actually is better ratings when there's a nasty breakup and drama. So I'm not sure why people still haven't figured out how these reality shows work. But anyway, and I wish I remembered the website that I was reading this on, but I don't. But definitely look it up. It's worth interesting. It's an interesting read to see what really goes on behind the scenes of television production. I'm stumbling because I've got the countdown in my ear. We've got about 30 seconds, and I just want to get everything in. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. You can email. The address is live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Next week, as I said, we are talking Oscars with one of our friends from E! News, so I hope you'll join us then. Until then, my name is Jeremy Bradley, and this is The Scribble. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat, give your mind